Well, good afternoon and welcome, everyone. My name is Ty Stevenson. I'm a proud graduate of Wayne State University and the Executive Director of the Alumni Association. And again, on behalf of our alumni, welcome to today's program. The Wayne State University Alumni Association is very proud to bring you today's Arthur L. Johnson Urban Perspectives Lecture Series program, Investing in Detroit, the Economic Impact of Entertainment. The lecture series is named in honor of the late Arthur L. Johnson, a passionate and inspiring leader at Wayne State for over 30 years. Arthur was highly respected and well known for his activism for civil rights, his passion for the arts, and his dedication to education. His work at Wayne State began in 1965 when he joined the university as a part-time sociology faculty member while simultaneously serving as DPS superintendent for school and community relations. In 1972, Arthur became vice president of university relations and also continued teaching as a professor of educational psychology before retiring in 1995, at which point he was serving as Wayne State's senior vice president for university relations. Regardless of his role at Wayne, Arthur had a special impact on all who were fortunate enough to call him colleague, instructor, and friend. Since its inception upon his retirement, the Arthur L. Johnson Urban Perspectives Lecture Series has brought to campus nearly 50 speakers whose topics have focused on education, politics, the arts, and a variety of other areas of urban interest. Both Wayne State and the city of Detroit are markedly better for the tremendous impact Arthur has made. And at this time, it is now my pleasure to formally introduce Shekinah Johnson, wife of the late Arthur L. Johnson and Vice President of Development and Alumni Affairs at Wayne State University. Shekinah.
Good morning. Good morning. I am so happy to be here and to welcome you to the Arthur L. Johnson Urban Perspective Lecture. As Ty mentioned, the topic today, we're talking about investing in Detroit. And as some of you may know, in fact, many in the room know, that we recently launched on October 9th our new campaign, Pivotal Moments. It's a $750 million fundraising campaign, and it represents those moments that changed the trajectory of a person's life and celebrates Wayne State as a place where those significant moments happen. So as we have been preparing for the campaign, we've been thinking about a lot of pivotal moments in our own lives. And it caused me to think that probably my most significant pivotal moment occurred right here in McGregor in 1978. Clearly a life-changing moment for me, as that was when I met Arthur Johnson, right outside this room. As you've heard, Arthur was a civil rights activist, author, and educator. He was a classmate of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at Morehouse College, and he came to Detroit in 1950 and grew the Detroit branch of the NAACP from 6,000 members to 60,000 in 10 years. He was one of the first Black Detroiters to hold office in the public school system, and as you heard, for 23 years he served as vice president at Wayne State University. This lecture is just one way that we honor Arthur's life, his work and his passion for things that he believed that was so important to our community. Arthur was someone who cared a lot about issues, someone who wanted to make things better. And many of you in this room know that he worked tirelessly towards building dialogue and seeking solutions to many issues. And one of the things Arthur really cared about was the city of Detroit. I would say, and I think so many of you would agree, that Detroit is going through its own pivotal moment right now. It's represented in the increased number of people moving to Midtown and downtown, the new restaurants and stores, and most significantly is the amount of construction that many of you might have drove through today as you tried to reach campus. There is a lot of construction going on, and there will be more over the coming years. Much of that progress is represented by the initiatives of Ilitch Holdings. So I am so pleased to have Christopher Ilitch here today to discuss investing in Detroit and the impact these new projects will have on our city and beyond. Thank you, Chris, for joining us today. And thank you for sharing the vision with us. We all look forward to hearing about it, and I know that everyone here will enjoy the lecture. And all of those who are visiting our campus today, please enjoy the campus. It's a beautiful day. Take time and look around and see the experiences that our students have every day. Chris, thank you.
It's a real pleasure to be here. Actually, I'm super excited to be here. I get to do a couple of really cool things. One, I get to talk on a subject of which I'm very, very passionate, investing in Detroit, and I get to talk to my neighbors. So I should start by saying howdy, neighbors. It's good to be here, and we're getting closer and closer every day as our development continues. So. And before I start into what I wanted to review, I just must tell you, I am incredibly impressed by everything that's happening at Wayne State, and on a number of different levels, and I want to just quickly cover those. First, just all the activity. I was mentioning earlier on a tour through Midtown and campus just the other day, a couple weeks ago, and I was amazed at all of the activity. The iBio. Very cool concept that's happening. I love that, although I used to take my car to that dealership, but that's okay. I love the progress and the reuse. The exciting renovations in the Student Center, right in the heart of campus, the expansion of the Hillberry Theater. And overall, I would just say every time I'm here, there's something new and different, and that's very, very important, not only to the students and the services to the students, but also to the city and the psychology of everybody in the city. They see constant progress and constant growth. And beyond that, Wayne State is a very large employer in our city. Great paying jobs here at the university, and very much a stabilizing force for our downtown. So it's a real honor to be here. It's an honor to be neighbors, and I'm very excited to talk to you today about our next big development right down the road. So with that, I always like to start on this slide right here, because what we're building is way more than an arena. It's really a district. And on this slide, you see all of the things that will be embodied in this district. Things that already exist, venues that already exist in the district. Ford Field, where the Lions play, or Comerica Park, where the Tigers play. The Fox Theater, which we all are familiar with, or the Fillmore Theater, or the Detroit Opera House, or the Masonic Temple. It's incredible how many venues and assets, community assets, are already within this district. And when it really hit home for me was when we were out. I've traveled the country. I've seen every arena in the hockey business, every ballpark in the baseball business, and every entertainment, sports and entertainment district throughout pretty much North America. But when I was in LA recently talking to the folks that developed LA Live, and they gave me an overview of LA Live, and then they said, well, what are the venues that are going to be in your district that you're looking to build out? And I mentioned all those venues that I just covered a minute or so ago, and they were blown away. They said there is nowhere in America or in North America that has that many venues in such close proximity in an urban location like you have in Detroit. And they were very energized and excited about the potential for this district to be a tremendous success. So we really are looking to stitch together the fabric amongst all of these venues and community assets that exist, in addition to a brand new state-of-the-art, world-class arena that we'll be building along with it. All right, on the next slide, I really want to just start with where we started in this project, and that was by defining what is the brand or the brand promise we're looking to accomplish in this new district. So just a little exercise I like to do. See how many Little Caesar pizza customers I have in the room. Can anybody tell me what the brand promise at Little Caesars is? Go ahead, just shout it out or raise a hand if you want. Come on now. Yes. Yeah, okay, they do that, but what is the promise or what is the branding that is prevalent at Little Caesars? What do you hear the most about Little Caesars in advertising and otherwise? Hot and ready, yeah, right. $5, you hear that a lot, but it's hot and ready. So Who said that? Yeah, I should have given you a hug. Forget shaking your hand, right? But that's it. That's the brand promise. And so when folks think of Little Caesars, they think of hot and ready. And if Little Caesars doesn't have the pizza hot and ready when you show up, then we've broken the promise. And so the expectation of the consumer is clearly established. And similarly, we set out to do exactly that with this district. And so I want to just quickly walk you through how we arrived at what we arrived at. So we've got all these tremendous world-class venues within the district already: Ford Field, the Fox Theater, Detroit Opera House, the Fillmore, so on and so forth. Very different and distinct. They all have different brands, and they all represent themselves quite differently to the community. But what we set out to do is find what was the common denominator or theme amongst all of those. And I don't usually do this, but I'm going to actually read to you how we sort of found that common denominator in terms of what we think each of those world-class venues represents to consumers in terms of the brand promise. So what we came up with was this. From the epic stone tigers at Comerica Park to the opulent, restored interior of the Fox Theater, the venues in the Detroit Sports and Entertainment District have transformed spaces into one-of-a-kind, memorable, and engaging experiences. Our passion and commitment to our city is expressed in the places we create. Our spirit permeates into the details of every structure, seeps out into the streets, and colors our city, inviting everyone to look up, look around, and soak it all in. When you come to a Detroit sports and entertainment property, you come out to be amazed. Come out, be amazed. And that is what we felt was the best brand representation or promise that we are looking to establish. We're in the business of world-class sports and entertainment, and when folks come out to our venues, they want to be amazed. They want to be entertained, they want to have fun, they want to make memories, they want to come out and be amazed. And so over the next 3 years, I'm going to outline for you what we'll be building. We'll be building a world-class arena, but we'll be building 13 other buildings within this district to fill it out. And it's very important that everybody involved in our project, particularly because it's a very intensive 3-year period of which we're building all of these buildings, understand what is the level of fit and finish and execution we're setting out to strive, and that is to come out and be amazed. So of the thousands of decisions that will be made between now and the completion of all of these buildings, that is the filter upon which everything will pass. Come out and be amazed. And if it doesn't meet that standard, then it's not a part of our district. Much like at Little Caesars, of the hundreds or thousands of decisions that Little Caesars Pizza executives will make in the course of this year, everything they do is to make sure they can deliver on that brand promise, hot and ready. And that's exactly what this brand promise will allow us to do in this district. When you look back in history of the city of Detroit, 300-plus year history, Woodward Avenue has served as Detroit's Main Street throughout that history. And you see that a lot of the initial activity of the city really was centered, as it is in many communities around the world, on its Main Street. And so our belief is, and the belief of a lot of the urban experts that we've been working with now for a decade or so, is that the redevelopment or the rebirth of Detroit will also happen along its Main Street or Woodward Avenue. And the great news there for us as a community is that we have incredible momentum right now along Woodward Avenue. And quite frankly, we've had it for 10 years plus. And so what I want to do is just kind of walk through the incredible momentum. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because you're probably familiar with many parts of it. But I'm going to walk through each section of this map that you see pictured on the screen that is our City of Detroit center core, or really center core, because you have downtown and you have uptown as well. So starting on the southern part of the bottom of the map with the Central Business District. Incredible momentum in the Central Business District. We all have heard and seen the incredible work that Dan Gilbert and his organization, Bedrock, has had underway for quite some time. They're buying a lot of buildings, they're fixing them up, they're trying to energize by bringing new tenants in, new people to downtown, new residents, and having a lot of success with that. In addition, there's been a lot of individual developers, particularly on residential projects in the Central Business District, who have had a lot of new projects that have been implemented with great success. So amazing energy and momentum in the Central Business District, and we haven't, quite frankly, had that for decades, and it's very, very good to see. All right, so just north of the Central Business District is that area pictured in gold, and that's the sports and entertainment district that we'll be building out. And I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. So I'm going to keep moving north and talk a little bit about Midtown. You're in Midtown. You understand what's happening in Midtown. Bottom line, very energizing, very exciting. Sue Mosey, she's a saint. I mean, the work that she has done has been incredible. It's exciting, and probably the most exciting thing for me is the variety of activity, the retail, the cafes, the restaurants, and the fact that it's all organic. And there's these little green shoots popping up all over Midtown. And that's very, very important to the fabric of our downtown. So great, great momentum in the Midtown area. All right, and then the next area north of Midtown, of course, shown on the map is pictured in yellow, and that's your neighbor, the DMC. You talk to any big city in America, they tell you the two big organizations that they covet are higher education like Wayne State and medical campuses like DMC. So very important to our city is DMC. They provide a lot of great jobs, good paying jobs. In addition, they're growing. You see the new heart hospital that just opened. You see the new addition to the children's hospital. There's cranes in the air, and there's an organization behind DMC that's very forward-thinking and very ambitious in terms of expanding their campus, and that is great for our city and very important stabilizing force to our downtown. And very similar, we look at in green, your campus at Wayne State. Like I said earlier, a lot of incredible activity, a lot of growth. Wayne State and DMC have been two of the most stabilizing forces in the city of Detroit for decades, and critically important to our city over that period of time, as well as moving forward. And like I said before, a lot of incredible energy and improvement in your campus, not only for your students, but that also has an effect on everybody that's downtown. Moving along on the map, really, then it brings us to M1 Rail. And I tell folks all the time, M1 Rail, couldn't be more excited about the timing of M1 Rail with all the activity we have going on in our city, as well as the positive impact that it will have. You know, I had an opportunity to chair the Detroit Metro Convention and Visitors Bureau for a couple of years, and I could tell you during my time as chair, the #1 deterrent to bringing more conventions and visitors to our city was the fact that we don't have great modes of transportation. We had no mass transit, and we had no light rail system. And so when folks or conventions would come to town, they'd have to either rent a car or they'd have to find a taxi. And sometimes taxis aren't so easy to find in our town. And so M1 Rail is going to give incredible mobility not only to the residents and the workers in our city, but importantly to conventioners and to visitors. And it brings them to all of the incredible community assets that are up and down Woodward Avenue, and they're all there, whether it's the Science Center, the DIA, Ford Field, Comerica Park, Fox Theater, Fillmore, Detroit Opera House. It's incredible how many of our wonderful Detroit assets are on our Main Street. So M1 Rail, very, very important. And I should also add, it's been demonstrated around the country that these light rail systems generate a lot of economic activity right around the stops along the rail. And so that will also help to boost economic development around those 13 stops. All right, so coming back to the map, you see, let's go back to the gold section, which is the Detroit Sports and Entertainment District. And the location of where this district is critically important, not only to the success of the district, but perhaps even more important to the success of the city of Detroit. And what brings me to say that is really centered around that dotted blue line you see on the map, and that represents I-75. And I-75 cuts immediately across our city core, really bifurcates our city into two. And for decades, it's really not a surprise that some of the most blighted areas in our city core of Detroit are just to the north of that dotted blue line on either the east or west side of Woodward. And the reason for that is for decades, developers would come into the city and they would say, boy, you really have to develop to the southern part of I-75. You don't want to be to the northern part. And so that area has really become the missing tooth in the smile of Detroit. And so in order to fully develop that area, we need to bridge not only the physical gap that I-75 creates between our central business district and Midtown and beyond, but the psychological separation that I-75 has created. And so this project that we have brought forward has been universally accepted by a lot of people, particularly politicians. And I would say to you, it's been approved and looked upon favorably by a lot of politicians for a whole host of reasons. But one of the most important is the strategic location of which this is going to reside. This project is very unique in that to fill the blight and the gap that exists in this part of town, it takes a very sizable development as well as a development that has a lot of activity. And this project, of course, has both. And I'm going to detail for you that. I'm going to detail that for you in just greater detail here in a few minutes. So, all right. So that speaks to the location. Let's move on to where we started in this project after the branding was established, and that was taking a look at the infrastructure. The infrastructure that is in this district, that was the gold district that I showed on the map just a minute ago, is very old, and in many respects it's broken and it's run down. And so by that I mean we have streets that are in bad shape, we have sidewalks that are cracked, we have curbs that are crumbled, street lights that don't work. It's an old and broken down infrastructure that hasn't been invested in and maintained over many, many decades. And so when we started in this project, we decided, you know, it's not a part of any agreement that we have with anyone. We're not obligated to do it, but we announced that we are going to step forward and in a very non-traditional manner, we are going to invest private dollars in a public infrastructure. And so what exactly does that mean? That means we're going to spend some of our own money to repave streets, tear up the streets, and while they're torn up, we'll approach a lot of the utilities in town to see if they want to upgrade their utilities, because a lot of those are outdated and archaic. We're going to repave the streets. We're going to do the same thing with the sidewalks and the curbs. We're going to get the lights working, replaced, or fixed. And we're going to adopt parks, city parks, and we're going to bring them to world-class standards. We're going to look at all aspects of the infrastructure and bring it up to today's standards. And the reason we've decided to do that is because our feeling is we can't truly build a world-class sports and entertainment district on a broken infrastructure. And so we're going to do it. And the other reason is that, quite frankly, with our city, you know, coming out of and hopefully coming out very soon of bankruptcy, it allows the city to focus its financial resources on other priorities and not invest it in infrastructure such as this. So this is really where we started, and this will happen simultaneous to a lot of the building that will occur in terms of the new arena and a lot of the new buildings that we'll be building out throughout the district. So that addresses the public infrastructure. The next thing I want to talk about is how we took this very large district, and when you saw it pictured in gold, you see it's about the same size, if not bigger, than the central business district. It's a very large area. And some of the greatest parts of any great urban community in our country, some of the greatest neighborhoods are much smaller than this district. Great neighborhoods like Soho or Wrigleyville or any great neighborhood in any great American city are much smaller geographic territories or areas. And so one of the first things we decided as a part of our plan is to take the district and to break it into 5 unique, distinct, charming neighborhoods. And really, they need to be unique and distinct and charming and have their own attributes, because that is what causes people to want to live in these neighborhoods, to want to work in these neighborhoods, to want to go out and enjoy things in these neighborhoods. It's really what allows folks to create an emotional bond to a neighborhood is the unique characteristics of it. So what I want to do is quickly go through the 5 unique neighborhoods that we'll be working to establish and just quickly describe what we envision them looking like. And we've developed a number of working titles. So the first one is pictured in blue, if you can go back just one slide. So I'm talking about the one that's pictured in blue here. And this one is called, we've given the title, working title of Cass Park Village. And we envision this neighborhood, and you can see some of the images, but we envision it as very energized, eclectic, very creative, very urban. And I oftentimes, again, I reflect back on my experience as chair of the Convention and Visitors Bureau. I remember doing a research project where we were trying to understand who are the people coming to Detroit and why are they coming in terms of visitors. And it was incredible. The ones that were coming were pioneers. I call them urban pioneers. They love the authenticity of Detroit. They love the grittiness of it. They love that it was real. And you don't get that in a lot of other cities around America. You get what's feeling more homogenized and more like a mall, if you will. And so they love that. And that's what I would envision this neighborhood looking like, feeling like, authentic, real, and the folks that I think it would appeal to would be some of those early urban pioneers. The next neighborhood I want to talk about, we've given a working title of Columbia Park, and it's in purple on the map. And we see this one is really being a modern gathering place, contemporary, fresh, open. A lot of the space within this neighborhood today is parking lots for the sports and entertainment district. So we'll see a lot of the infrastructure improved, the parking lots all brought up to today's standards in terms of being landscaped and paved and striped and lit with drainage and all the things you would expect in a state-of-the-art parking facility. But we also see bringing some character and attitude to this neighborhood by creating new green space. We're actually going to take some of our private land in this neighborhood and we're going to create public park space as the center gathering place to really help establish the character of this neighborhood. The next neighborhood is pictured in yellow, and we've given this the title, working title of Columbia Street. Columbia Street goes right through the heart of this district, and we see Columbia Street as really being an aspirational theater experience. As you can see from the images on the screen, we picture this street being cobblestone, gas lamps on the side of the streets, filled with cafes and restaurants and places to eat and drink. Very sophisticated, very timeless, a perfect place to perhaps before a sporting event or a live concert or a theater experience to go hang out before or after. And the next area I want to talk about is the Wildcat Corner, which is pictured in green. And I love the name, Wildcat Corner. It's probably my favorite of all the working titles. But it really ties to the tradition of baseball. The folks that used to stack up the crates when they couldn't get a ticket, and they'd sort of step on the crates and peek over the fence into the ballpark, those were called Wildcatters. And I also love the reference to corner, which is where baseball was born in Detroit, at the corner of Michigan and Trumbull. And so Wildcat Corner I thought was cool. Plus, it's the neighborhood where the Lions and the Tigers are, so it's common between our football and baseball teams. But we really see this neighborhood as being highly active with sports fans because of the two arenas that are right in the neighborhood. It will have places to eat and drink and residential like most of these other neighborhoods will, and just be a very energized area because of the volume of fans, very passionate fans that'll be coming in and out of the district. And finally is the neighborhood pictured in red, which we have dubbed on a working basis Woodward Square. And we see Woodward Square, of course, being the neighborhood anchored by the brand new state-of-the-art hockey arena as being fully immersive entertainment neighborhood and experience. Very cutting edge, very inviting, a lot of generating, a big economic generator, a lot of activity in and out of this neighborhood with all of the events at the new arena. But we also see a lot of residential, a lot of retail, and also a lot of office. And I'm going to walk you through some of that detail in Woodward Square and around the new arena in just a few minutes here. All right, this next slide really then is probably one of my favorite slides in this whole presentation, because it really speaks to our approach on this arena and this district. And it just further cements in my mind the greatest ideas are the most simple ideas. I mean, my 8-year-old daughter, I think, could have come up with this one on her own. But you know, our approach to building this arena is to deconstruct the arena. So what I mean by that is the image on the left is how arenas have been built, not only in America, but throughout the world for the last 30+ years. And by that, I mean you can see the oval shape within the box, and that's generally where the playing surface is, and the seating bowl where the fans sit. And then what typically happens is they will jam all types of ancillary uses into that box: clubs, team offices, a team store to sell merchandise, all types of different uses, concessions. And what often happens without fail is there's sacrifice, because the spaces are usually irregular shaped, there's no windows, you don't get as much space as you want, and things don't end up in the ideal location. And so knowing that we're building this in an area that we are building this, and which is pretty much devoid of any current structures in the area. It's pretty much a clean slate. And what we're looking to build is an overnight village or an overnight district. And so we thought, wouldn't it make more sense to deconstruct this arena? So to pull out all of the ancillary uses. And so what you'll see with this arena is we're building a bowl, and then separate and distinct from that bowl are a series of ancillary uses in the buildings surrounding the bowl. And there are a lot of very distinct advantages to doing that, and I want to just cover a few of those right now. First, it does create immediately a village or a neighborhood overnight, and we think that's very important. Secondly, it allows for each of the ancillary uses to be high-quality, modernized spaces. You know, like for instance, if you had an office inside an arena today, like we do at Joe Louis Arena, there's no windows, they're irregularly shaped, they have low ceilings. This will allow us to have really modernized contemporary offices with windows, high ceilings, all the things we would all expect in a modernized office. Similarly, the clubs will be, they'll have views of downtown and the surrounding neighborhood. The team store will be in a great location and not buried in somewhere within an arena just because it was the last spot available. So really, this allows for a lot of improvements in terms of the quality of the space. The other thing it does is it allows these spaces to be available to the community on a 365-day basis. So when there's not an event at the arena, all of these buildings and ancillary uses can be open. The restaurants and the bars and all of the retail can be open and available every day of the year, not just on game night or on game day. And so we think that is a big advantage as well. And the only other thing I wanted to talk about in this particular slide is the connection between the bowl and the buildings that surround it. And you see what looks like glass covering, and that's exactly what it is. These streets that will be in between the arena bowl and the outbuildings will be covered with glass because of the weather in our community, particularly in the winter, allow for shelter and allow folks to be out of the elements and enjoy these spaces all year long. And I put a little image on the bottom right to give you a sense as to what it might feel like. And you'll see that in that particular example, that's an office building to the left, and then you have space, you know, a street in between, and then you've got other buildings to the right. And that would be somewhat of a representation of the type of feel that we're looking to establish in this example. On the next slide, I want to quickly give you a tour of this district around the Arena Bowl. So the buildings that you see highlighted on this slide are the team offices for both the Red Wings and our company that manages this facility. they'll be in these buildings along with the team store. And important to note, the ground level of all of these buildings surrounding the Arena Bowl will be built out with retail. And when I say retail in Detroit today, it'll mostly be restaurants and bars and a lot of places that you might expect around an entertainment district. And there'll be some additional retail as well. But it's really going to match what the needs are today and what the market demand and can sustain as of today in our area. On the next slide, you see a couple of buildings that will be residential. So we see these as being loft-style apartments, micro units. There'll be about 400 of them or so in those two buildings right to the immediate south of the Arena Bowl. And there'll be additional units off to the left of the slide. And since we announced our plans, we've been absolutely overwhelmed with interest in residential units, which is very heartening, not just for our project, but for our downtown. It's good to see that there are so many folks, particularly young millennials who all across America are moving and have the desire to move back into urban environments. And we're seeing that on display today in our own city as well as in our own project. On this next slide, what's highlighted is a world-class hotel that we'll be building on that location, as well as a retail promenade. It won't be a real large hotel, but we feel it's very important to have a hotel as a part of this mix, and we think it will serve the needs of this district well. And on this next slide is an area that we are calling a plaza or a piazza, and we see this as being a 365-day gathering place, all types of different events, outdoor events programmed in this space over the course of time. It'd be a great place to gather before an event at this arena. It would also be a great place perhaps to watch the World Cup if our USA is in the World Cup again, or to watch the Tigers if they can get back to the World Series and they're on the road, or perhaps the Red Wings if they get back to the Stanley Cup Finals and you can't get a ticket or they're playing on the road. Music, bands, perhaps a warm-up band before a concert occurs in the arena. 101 uses. This space is actually bigger than Rockefeller Plaza in New York, just to give you a sense for the scale. But very important, this will be the center of the neighborhood and generate a lot of activity, which will help create a sense of place and character, as well as activity for the retail establishments in the neighborhood. All right, and then the arena itself, or the bowl, talk a little bit about this. This is a very, very exciting in terms of the design that we're planning for the bowl. Having been in professional sports for over 32 years or so now, it's our belief that the greatest venues in sports are ones that have proximity and incredible fan experiences. Fans are close to the playing surface and the action, and have great sight lines, and there's an intensity and excitement about the venue and the fan experience even before the actual event starts, whether it be a concert or a hockey game. And so in this bowl, you'll see that brought to life. This will be a very intimate bowl, and by that I mean there'll be the seats will be as tight as possible, bringing fans as close as possible to the concert stage or the ice surface or the basketball court or what have you, whatever the event is. There'll also be an intensity within the bowl in terms of the noise and the fan experience overall, in terms of the technology and all of the amenities that are offered to them, creating the best fan experience and really creating experiences that as fans we haven't seen in this marketplace, or in some instances in any of our leagues for some time. Importantly, a couple of other things we'll be doing in terms of design. We'll be excavating this bowl down to a depth of about 37 feet. And what that does is a couple of things. First, It allows folks entering the building to enter at street level. So there'll be no more going up the steps like at Joe Louis Arena or like at the Palace. You'll walk in right at street level and you'll be right on the concourse, which we think fans will really enjoy. The other thing it will do is it'll bring the entire scale of the building down. So for any of you who might have traveled around our country and seen some of the newer buildings, places like Yankee Stadium or perhaps the United Center in Chicago. They're beautiful venues, but they're very big. They've been built on grade, and when you walk in, you look up and these things are huge. They're monolithic, and they're very imposing. And part of our approach was that we wanted this Arena Bowl to be very friendly to our neighbors and our neighborhood. We want it to be a charming building that's very neighborly. And this idea of excavating down to 37 feet brings the scale of the building down and makes it less imposing to the neighborhood, makes it look like it seamlessly fits into an urban environment of which it's residing. It's very similar. I call this the cousin to Comerica Park because that's what we did at Comerica Park. We were one of the first in in Major League Baseball to excavate down to a depth of 30-some feet, and it did a very similar thing. If you look at the outbuildings around Comerica Park, they're very low. They were the lowest in Major League Baseball at the time we built the venue, and that makes for a very charming, very friendly urban building within the neighborhood, and that's what you'll see here as well. All right, moving on. So I've given you a sense for all of the things happening in the district north of 75. I want to talk just for a minute on this slide about what you'll see actually on the bridge over I-75. So I talked about the importance of bridging that divide of I-75. You can see in red on the bridge over I-75 along Woodward Avenue, we actually are working to build retail storefronts on the bridge. So for the first time ever, people will be able to walk up and down Woodward Avenue and have a continuous urban experience, be able to see storefronts, and instead of seeing cars whizzing by at 60 or 70 miles per hour. We envision that on both sides of the bridge over I-75, physically connecting the two areas, north and south of I-75. And as you move further to the south of I-75 towards Comerica Park, you see buildings in yellow. Those will be residential, about another 400 plus units of loft-style micro units in front of the ballpark. And then you see a series of buildings in either blue or red. And the blue are office buildings that will be built throughout the district, filling in open spaces, bringing more of a dense, urban, walkable neighborhood like we all see and experience in other great urban settings. In the items or the buildings in red will be retail opportunities throughout the district. And I might add, all of the residential on the ground level will offer retail. So you'll see this common theme of first floor retail throughout the district, and then you'll either see office or residential above it. And again, the idea is to fill in the district, to stitch all these incredible world-class venues together. So the last couple things I want to cover is talk a little bit about the importance of community as it relates to this district. And quite frankly, our belief is that community is integral to the success of this district. And I often tell people, our organization own the Detroit Tigers, own the Detroit Red Wings, but really we don't own anything. We're caretakers of these incredible franchises. These are community assets of our city, of our community, of our state. And I look at this district in much the same way. We're going to be doing a lot of the work. There's a lot of land for others to develop and do things within this district, and there's a lot of activity beginning on that front. But we look at this as being a community asset. And for it to be successful, the community needs to be integrated and active in all aspects of it. So we actually feel so strongly about it, we developed a program called Community Connect, which embodies all of the community activities that we have today and we are creating for tomorrow. Because just as the ongoing design of this district occurs and the retail tenant mix and the office tenant mix and all of the work that's happening throughout this project, so too does the new ways we figure out how to integrate and connect with community. And so I want to just highlight a few of the things that we're doing in this respect. It would be, with the time I have, I couldn't go into all of them, but just quickly a couple of them. One of them is an internship program that we're working with Cass Tech on. Cass Tech is right in our district. They're our neighbor. They are a wonderful Detroit Public high school, and we are opening up our 10 operating businesses to the students of Cass Tech and offering internships throughout our 10 different businesses. And we think it's an incredible opportunity to expose the kids in Cass Tech to possible careers, to ignite their passion on a whole host of levels in terms of the type of profession or the type of jobs they may want to pursue in their own careers. Cass Tech is very energized and excited about it, as we are. We're also looking in a very creative way to create incubator space within our district that will allow young minority restaurateurs or chefs who have hot concepts or things that they would like to come out with. And we want to provide space to those young minority chefs within the city to be able to bring their business forward to the street and provide them either low or no cost space to be able to be a part of this district and to be integrated with the project. And we also, I mentioned the adoption of city parks. We're adopting Cass Park, which is a beautiful park across the street from Masonic Temple, but has been, unfortunately not maintained to the level it should. In addition to that, adopting that and investing in that public park and maintaining it on an ongoing basis, we're also creating new park space on our private land that will be available to the public. There's a space outside of the ballpark we're calling Ballpark Commons, and another space over in the Columbia Park area, which we're calling Columbia Park. So those are just a few. We also have initiatives on Main Street redevelopment throughout the neighborhoods of Detroit that we're in discussions with the mayor's office and helping to lend our expertise on those fronts, as well as working to lend some of this newfound residential expertise we have in offering affordable housing in different parts of the city, which is important in any big city in America, and our city is no different, very, very important. So with that, just to wrap up, I guess first and foremost, I want to, a global thank you to Wayne State University. Exceptionally important to the city of Detroit, has been a very, very important, steadfast, contributor and stabilizer of our city for so many years and decades. And we certainly have enjoyed a great relationship with Wayne State for many years. As neighbors downtown, as folks that are, motivated to try and make our community a better place for all. And we think so much of Wayne State. We've, given a lot of our financial resource. Of course, my parents, Mike and Marion Ilitch, were both proud to make a recent large donation to the Wayne State University School of Medicine to help further and continue their work. And we're very proud to be able to be in a position to be able to do that and support such a great institution. So with that, I want to thank you for having me here today. It's been a real privilege to present this development to you and all of our ongoing work. And thank you for your time and attention. And with that, I'll open the floor to questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. We appreciate your time today. As I said earlier, we also appreciate what the entire Ilitch family has meant for our city, certainly as our neighbors, and of course as supporters of our medical school Department of Surgery. Thank you. Questions. You filled out questions as you come in, and we've tried to coordinate those together on the most pressing questions. So one of the questions is, how long have the plans for the district been in the works? Because this doesn't happen overnight.
No, it certainly doesn't. A long time. You know, I often say my parents, they seem to get involved in one of these big projects about every decade, you know. They bought the Red Wings in the early 80s, and then the Fox in the late 80s, and the Tigers in the early 90s, and then they built the Comerica Park in the late 90s, and here we are, you know, with this, you know, Motor City Casino Hotel in the, you know, early 2000s, and here we are. It was really when my father had worked to renovate the Tiger Stadium and had put in the Tiger Plaza and really tried to make Tiger Stadium work. And once it was clear it was very difficult to have a world-class and a highly competitive baseball team in a facility that didn't afford the ability to generate the revenue to support the payroll of a competitive baseball team, the decision was made to build Comerica Park. And we started to try and assemble land for Comerica Park, and that was in the you know, early, mid-2000s. And once the land was completed for Comerica Park and it opened in 2000, shortly thereafter we turned our attention to assembling land for a new arena. And so it's been, you know, about 13, 14 years in terms of working to establish the critical mass of land to make this project a reality.
So leading from that point, and it's something that certainly has been discussed in stadiums, arena before in Detroit, there's the question about, can you tell us more about the roof in the arena? Is it a lift-up?
A lift-up?
Yeah, will the roof remove?
Oh, like a convertible?
Yes, yes.
No. God, I hope not. We didn't budget for that.
Well, given our winters, I could imagine not.
Yeah, you know, it would be really cool to have an open air, but those, I can tell you, those structures are very, very costly to do. The engineering and the construction and the work that goes into those. I've seen them in other communities, and most times they'll exist in either very, very cold climates or very, very hot climates that they want to go back and forth. You know, we'll have our cold weather, we'll have our warm weather, but we're really not to the extremes of a place, you know, like a Phoenix may have, or some of the colder climates may have. But what will be highly unique about our roof will be the, as you saw in the renderings, the LED images that will be available to project onto our roof. And so when the Red Wings are playing, you'll see that winged wheel in the building might turn red on game night or game day. But you know, if Eminem or Kid Rock, Detroit's own, are playing a concert, you know, their images would be on the top of the building. And so it really allow us to do something really unique in the industry in terms of branding the building for whatever's happening.
So Wayne State might see some
hey,
green and gold.
Hey. Is this a negotiation?
We'll talk later.
All right.
Another question is, what aspects of the district will provide professional employment opportunities to young people and recent graduates? They say we know it will create jobs, but what kind of jobs, what kind of opportunities will be created?
Yeah, there'll be a lot of different jobs created, starting from the construction-related jobs, of course, which are, you know, for a limited period of time, but very, very important to our community. Those jobs will start to be offered in the springtime, as late winter, really, as we gear up for heavy construction in the spring. And those jobs are estimated to be, you know, 8,000 plus jobs. And that was before we had contemplated doing a lot of the infrastructure improvements that I highlighted for you today. So that could grow well north of that. Very important. Our objective is to have over 51% of those jobs go to Detroiters or Detroit residents, and we're working very hard to make sure that that happens. We have to work hard at that. Additionally, we are and I might also mention, on a permanent basis, over 1,100 jobs, new jobs, will be created. And those 1,100 jobs will be a tremendous variety. It could be business executives in team offices, or entertainment, the entertainment business, to retail opportunities, to you name it. There's going to be a whole bevy of career options within this district because of the variety of things happening within the district. As this grows, so too will the need for real estate management, the management of not only the entertainment venue, but the programming of entertainment throughout the streets of the district. You know, I think of my friend Cindy Paskey. She marvels at our organization because we have such a wide array of different jobs and careers available. Folks can really start as an entry-level hourly employee with us and grow their careers, you know, to be executives at any one of our 10 operating businesses. And we have many people who've been with us for decades who've done exactly that. And I would envision that variety and the scope of career choice within the district because of all the things that will be encompassed within the district. So.
That's fantastic. One last question, and this sort of follows that, and are there volunteer opportunities that Wayne State University students and staff can assist with the project? So we know you employ a lot of Wayne State alumni, but in addition, we have people who would be interested in volunteering.
Yeah, that's a great question, and we've had an outpouring of interest and support for the project, and there will be plenty of opportunities to volunteer. And I often tell folks today, we don't have it put together to say this is what we have for today, but what folks could do today is really to be great ambassadors for our community, for our city, and for all the exciting things happening, and not only here on your own campus and in Midtown, but this project, you know, it's a $1.2 billion economic impact, or $1.8 billion impact to our community, and our goal is to make sure that's felt throughout the entire state of Michigan. I talked about hiring Detroiters, but we're also looking to make sure that everything that goes into this district, or as much as possible, is Michigan-made to help support the outlying communities in and around Detroit and throughout the state. And it's exciting, the transformation that will occur, because we're taking some of the most blighted areas of our downtown and transforming it into incredible world-class, walkable, charming, urban spaces. And I wouldn't be shy. So for anyone that's looking to volunteer and contribute, I think just talking up all the exciting things that are happening to friends and to neighbors and importantly to out-of-towners is really helpful, because as the word spreads, there's more and more interest in folks getting involved and investing in Detroit and becoming a part of it. And that's all very helpful. It's going to help the campus, it will help our downtown, and of course it will help this project as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.